Hello, I'm here today. I take this chance to share my mind again, and this will be the subject which was just born yesterday in my online meditation, the Russian version, when we were having a discussion after one of the sessions. And one of my meditants uh, brought up her own experience from past not past life like past reincarnation, but past years when she was yet a different person, when she was not yet trying to understand anything, and she was just experiencing some hard situation, some very difficult period of time, which made her suffer, which made her feel really lost and confused in this life, and where she didn't know to accept, she didn't know to look at the situation properly with the knowledge, with the understanding. She was rejecting, she was willing her life to be different, but it was happening as it was, and it led her quite to depression. Well, at a certain point, she suddenly felt either to live or to die, and not living this life half dead. So then she decided to leave. She suddenly felt this strive to make finally a choice, either to give up completely or to continue living and try to understand why those things were happening to her, why she was becoming so miserable in this life. Well, why I raise this subject is that in this type of situation, we have a pattern of behavior for all of us. We try to learn what happens, and this is already good that we don't ignore our experience, we don't hide away from it. We try to understand what happens, what it wants to tell us, and what we are supposed to understand, and what change actually is required in us to make a change in our life. Well, nowadays psychologists and psychological services have become so much available, accessible, and acceptable in the society, while a dozen of years ago or even less, people were quite ashamed, embarrassed to admit sometimes that they go or have to go to a psychotherapist, because it was quite, yeah, embarrassing, as it was considered kind of you're nuts if you go to a psychologist. While nowadays people take consultations quite frequently, and this might be to help somebody to come out of a difficulty in life, or even people who step on some way of development, of understanding, they try to find some knowledge, to get some learning through psychology. This is not bad, because this is already some progress, some movement, but I should say this is not complete. So let's take the situation of this very woman meditator who was sharing with me, telling me that she went so deep into her depression that actually now she is thankful to that time, those things, those conditions that were happening around her, because this was something very strong that made her start changing. Well, this is one of the examples where I think you can also recognize yourself if you are on the path of development, but I like better to say path of discovery. Discovery, learning, understanding. If you are on that path, I believe that you probably also got there because you were experiencing some difficulties in life. And now, if you are a positive person, if you learned to move on, and if you learn to accept and not to attach to what is in the past and move on and really take a lesson and see, understand what happened, understand why, and what it tells you about you, then you just take the lesson, and then you, with your positive approach, you appreciate, although it was so difficult, it was so unbearable often before, but now it changed. Now you started growing and you understand that you started growing thanks to that. So you even look back at that situation and with even a slight laugh at yourself, you can say, oh, back then I was still so young and I didn't know any of this that I know now. I couldn't understand what happens to me, what it means. Now I know, so now I know, and I appreciate that situation. And also, whatever comes to me, of course, it is difficult, but I try to process it. I try to see inside of myself what happens to me. And then we start this kind of digging inside to see where are the roots of the situation, where they come from the past, or this is something currently happening where we are confused. What is there that we misinterpret, that makes us worried, that makes us concerned about some subject. We try to understand, if not ourselves, then at least relationships with others. We learned already that it is not the fault of others, it is not the world which is bad around us, it is something to understand. And then we try to understand either at least relationship with the other with whom you have some difficulties, some problems, some unfavorable situations, challenging moments, or yeah, we go inside and we try to see, to understand what is there wrong with me. And this repeats and repeats and repeats, and we do develop patience and we do develop those qualities of looking inside and this kind of courage to take responsibility on ourselves and say, okay, I have to work on myself. This is already good, but this is incomplete because this psychological knowledge is quite on the surface, you know. Each time we will need to apply some psychological understanding and go inside and look again and explore again, investigate and learn our mistakes and make new changes and constantly be in this process of fixing ourselves. And what it makes that whenever we fix ourselves, we see that, oh, this is right, I fix myself and the world, the situation at least gets fixed. Then we say, all right, well done, I'm good, I've grown up, I've developed, now I know better, I can also teach others or help to others, we are so good, so that we can also be good to others. And we think that we fixed life, we think that now it is under control, now I know how to. And this is the moment because of which I'm making this video. I'm sharing my mind. I'm sharing my mind to draw your attention to the fact that when we learn to let go our past, actually it's not only this. It's really good that we can let go. We accept, we forgive either ourselves or others, and we move on. But what actually happens is that we not only take a lesson and move on, but I can actually say that we throw away that situation in the past. We egoistically use that situation to understand something about ourselves, to make the world turn around ourselves, to really create this picture that this happens for me, this happens to teach me, this happens, the universe really works for me, just always to teach me, to give me, to show me, to make me, me, this I, this big huge I through which we consider each and every situation. This is where our mistake is. That's good, as I said, that's good. This is already a step away from complete ignorance of being here. But we can go even further. We can take another step. And another step is to understand actually the life. Life, understanding life is much bigger, is much more progressive, much more effective, rather than understanding just yourself. Yourself in this situation and yourself in that situation, with this problem, with that problem, taking tools to be always trying to learn more and understand yourself only. Actually, everything happening to us is just a happening of this universal law, a happening of life. While we take it, attach to it, and say that this is for me, I know that it's not because of someone or something, it is all because of me, but still we attach, if not to that, then to this. And there we get blocked, and there we can't move further. So I want to show you this view that we need to see characteristics of happening. We need to see the character of life. Everything that happens, we shouldn't throw away. Just take our experience and move on and throw away the situation as unnecessary. Just throw it to the garbage. This is what we do. Then we are proud that I let it go. We let it go, but we ignored the most important message, the significance of how life is evolving, how life is behaving, what characteristics it possesses. If we learn to understand the characteristics of life, we will understand a much bigger picture of happening, not only this I. So this is where I wanted to make a turning point for you. Well, I should say that explaining this, I find it quite difficult to express this kind of flow, the feeling that I have about this different view. I felt it difficult to explain to that meditator, and she was saying that she was trying to answer, and I saw she speaks still about those very things. No, I appreciate my experience, she says. I see you appreciate because you know you learned from it and you stepped on the path and you move and you learn and you feel yourself better. Of course you appreciate, but you appreciate experience from the point of view of I. I would like to show you that you should appreciate this and not leave it behind, not to get attached and be traumatized by it, of course, but not to deliberately just drop it and just leave it unattended as if really useless. Everything happening is very useful. There is lots of sense of life. There is this sign of impermanence. There is this sign of being in content, of suffering, of desire to change, of need to fix. There are so many characteristics of life which are so precious to learn and understand. So please try, if meanwhile it is not clicking for you, what I'm telling here, what I'm sharing, then I think probably you just move on, and this will still come back in one of the situations. If you move on, if you are open to understanding, it will bring you some experience where you will remember my words. If you feel strong rejection of what I'm saying, this is quite an interesting point. It means you will go only deeper in your experience that you are having in the current period of your life. You will deepen in the practices, in the beliefs that you have, and then it will exhaust itself as incomplete, and the new experience, new understanding that might intersect with this idea that I'm telling now might come, or there can be any other version. But for now, this is what I wanted to share, and that's enough. That's it. Thank you.